Yeah.
Hey guys, I've got Dax Moy on the line. If you haven't heard who this guy is, you've been hiding under a rock for the last several years. Mine and Dax's story goes back a while, actually, about 3.5 years, 3 years or so. And I'd just finished university, and I'd kind of, I was at a point where I was moving cities from one to the other, and I was in a bit of a stuck position. I was working in a call center at the time, about 3.5, 4 years ago, something like that. And I was searching personal trainer, how much money can you make as a personal trainer, how to get started and stuff like that. And I come across Dax and his personal trainer success academy, which at the time was very, very there was a huge community then, Dax, wasn't there then? A
Yeah.
few years ago. And I come across guys like Austin Lawrence and Mark Kent. I didn't know who these guys were, but they seemed to be the people who were kind of connecting a lot. And yeah, I guess it was Dax's content that actually drew me in, and a lot of what I want to talk about to Dax about today is how he writes content that he basically connects with people and builds deep relationships with. Because I think the fitness industry that we're in within the micro bubble, I mean, the likes of myself, Paul Mort, John Latoc, a few of the other good guys, have all generally come from Dax's downline, if you like. So Dax, I know you've got a whole bunch of programs we're just talking, but just want to fill people in with where you're up to with things.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm up to, as usual, I'm up to with crazy things, and yeah, I'm one of these kind of really weird guys. I'm a very, very weird person. I'm weird, and I'm weird in every sense of the word weird. And I really am. I break a lot of the rules. I break a lot of what other people tell you to do to become successful. I break a lot of what I sometimes tell my mentoring students to do to be successful, but because I feel that I'm in a place where the breaking of those rules actually really serves me as opposed to being stuck. So what do I mean by that? I mean, most people are told to have one niche and kind of pursue it with all vigor, and that's really what your life should be about. But I personally, I find that really, really hard. I find it really difficult. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm very, very technically astute in lots of different areas in terms of biomechanics, nutrition, endocrinology. Kind of. I mean, you've been on some of my courses. A lot of the guys you just mentioned have been on my
Yeah,
courses. I teach at a pretty high level, if I do say so myself. It's quite unusual stuff. So I don't necessarily have a niche, but though
yeah,
I have had niches. I developed a lot of passion for one area, and I focused on that for a long time. I developed passion on another area and focused on that for a long time. Now I kind of have massive passion, and I probably break a lot of the rules compared to my peer group who tell you what you should do to become successful. But I guess because it's for me that success isn't just about the money that I could earn from a niche.
yeah,
Like, should Dax Moy be all about kinetic chain? Like, if all I did was kinetic chain stuff, I'd earn a lot more money than I earn. Or if all I did was fitness marketing, then I'd earn a lot more money than I earn. Or if all I did was nutrition or endocrinology or any of the other number of things I did, if all I did and I put all of my time into just those things, I would probably earn a hell of a lot more money. But I would also feel that the quality of my life has gone down
yeah,
because I'm a guy who's about a lot of things, and I've been very, very fortunate enough to kind of, I guess, be one of these guys who can hold a lot of thoughts in his head at the same time and pursue them quite far down the thought process. So my knowledge about endocrinology and knowledge about nutrition and knowledge, I guess I've become an expert in multiple areas as opposed to pursue one thing for a long time. So, and that's not all to blow my own trumpet. I guess what I'm saying is it has made me a kind of a bit weird because I teach people how to be successful, and part of my story to them is that, look, when you're starting out, pick one thing and get really bloody good at it.
yeah,
And that still is good advice to a lot of people, but it's bad advice if you have a lot of passions in your life about other areas where over time you think, but shit, there's some other things I'd really like to do in my life here. There's some other things I'd really like to talk about here. And you feel like you're going through life with handcuffs on and like, well, I've pigeonholed myself as the back pain guy, and so I can't really talk about any of this other stuff because otherwise it ruins my niche.
yeah,
What I'm saying is pick a niche. For me, I guess if I was starting a brand new mentoring student out today, I'd say pick a niche that you're going to stick with and give everything to for about 18 months to 2 years, and then start to spread your wings a bit more into other areas, right? But
yeah,
across the course of your lifetime, you change. You grow new passions, you see new things, you hear new things, and you think, wow, that's amazing. And I'd hate to think of anyone off of my advice or your advice or any other fitness marketing guy's advice, kind of thinking, well, I've picked my niche now and I'm kind of stuck. So yes, I'm a bit weird from that perspective. I'm a bit weird from the perspective that I guess spirituality finds its way into a lot of my work. I am a very spiritual, and I like to think that I deliver my messages quite pragmatically. Like, here's some stuff you can do, but alongside of the kind of the airy fairy kind of side of going a bit deeper into who you want to be as you go through life. So that makes me a bit weird as well. And I guess I'm a bit weird because I run a lot of my things in opposition to what a lot of the other experts are saying you should do to be really successful. This is what you need to do, and I see them as well-intentioned people. I don't see them as kind of, I guess we all go through these cynical phases of looking at certain people and going, oh, this person just trying to bleed me dry, just trying to take a load of my money and tell me I've got to do these things. And I went through those phases, but now I don't necessarily see them as ill-intentioned or people that are trying to rip people off. I see them as like, well, this is where my belief has taken me to so far, that if you do these things, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And that's why we had that period in the industry where everyone was going down the Groupon route and kind of selling their training for pennies and all the rest of it. Was it just because the people that were talking about it wanted to screw you over? No, they really thought it was the best idea they could think of at the time. But now we've seen where it led us. And so I guess I'm weird because in an industry where people are trying to become leaders, like everyone's fighting for the leadership position, my weirdness takes me into what you've heard me talk about this, the guru position. Right? I actually genuinely want to be the industry's guru, and not in that kind of sarcastic Dax Moy fitness guru says, right?
Yeah.
In the true meaning of the word, that guru means someone who moves you from the darkness to the light. I see a lot of people in darkness, and what I'm saying is I can help you shine a bit of light on that, but you don't even have to choose my light. There's other light out there as well, but make sure that before you start moving, you've at least tried to shine some light on what you're doing. Or from the other perspective, you've at least tried to reduce some of the burdens, because that's another way to look at enlightenment, is what am I burdened by at the moment. So I'm quite good at shining light. I'm quite good at helping people kind of release their burdens. But at the same time, I feel no need in this industry to, I know a lot of people kind of call me an industry leader. I don't recognize that term in myself. Leader to me kind of denotes that I'm in front and I'm trying to get you lot to follow me.
Yeah.
Me, that's not what I'm about. I kind of when people do see themselves aligning with me and all the rest of it, I really like that. But I get turned off the moment I feel that I have a follower. I'd much rather have someone who's walking a journey with me, not someone who's kind of over my shoulder and, I'm the leader and you guys are my followers, and therefore, you have to do what I say, and I'm deeply hurt when you don't. That's not really how I work. So yeah, I'm a complete weirdo, mate.
a lot of reasons why you're weird there, but I feel like quite connected to that as well, because a lot of I find myself writing a lot of different things. I got quite bored with writing nutrition stuff quite quickly after 2.5 years of writing it. And I thought to myself, there's got to be something deeper than the nutrition as to why people aren't sticking to the plans. And I found myself writing articles that were really on, if I reflect back now, that were on a level for trainers, not as opposed to a level for the public. And since I started writing more about the psychology of things and how people think about things, and actually I teach my clients a lot of the success principles that I would teach my mentoring students or coaching students, the same things, because for me, like weight loss, training, nutrition, whatever, is all just about becoming successful and getting the habits that you need to in order to move forward and building in behaviors that make you successful. And that's a lot of my journey that's how mine quite spread out. And I mean, earlier in the year, back end of last year, I wrote a book for young men, which I haven't really pushed or released yet properly. I'll send you a copy over, Dax, called The Internal Warrior. And it's about young men internalizing their emotions and then kind of figuring out the path that they want to, basically, because I've been on that journey myself. And like you said, I'd be very bored of just sticking to one kind of thing. And yeah, I might not make a lot of money out of my book, but the 20, 30 people that have read it so far have said it's life-changing. So for me, that's, it's a big deal. So what I mean, I put a little status up last night about interviewing you, and people came back, and one of the big things was like, how do you and Dax both come up with so much content, but also connect with all of that content as well? Because I mean, myself, I publish like a 4,000 word newsletter every week, at least 2 blog posts, and I start various Facebook threads like you do yourself, plus all the community stuff that I do for my members, which you'll be doing also. And I guess people are wondering how to come up with this type of content and how regularly.
It's crazy, isn't it? People think that content creation is really, really difficult, and my greatest difficulty is in deciding which of the 100 ideas that are running for any minute, like which one shall I go with right now?
Yeah.
Right. Content creation is the easiest thing in the world. You create content every boot camp you run. You're creating content. You stood in front of a group of people, and during that session, someone was giving you a story that they couldn't do something. Someone else was giving you a story that they wouldn't do something. Someone else was giving you a story that I'd love to be able to do that, but it's too hard. Right? That's all content there. That's a you know, even if your content is nothing more dramatic than, you know, I was teaching a boot camp today, and something really interesting happened. You know, we were going really well, and Mary sat down in the middle of the field at one point. I could see tears in her eyes, and she kind of said, you know, I love doing this with you, but I really don't believe it's ever really going to get me the result. And that led me to think just how many people I mean, these are the things that pass through my mind. I look around my studio and I'm with the client, and the client says something, and that thought, that whatever comes out of their mouth becomes a trigger. I'm thinking, if they feel this way, how many people out there are feeling that way? How many people out there that don't have the benefit, or maybe even the financial benefit, of being able to work with someone like me, but could do with the answer that I just gave my client who just paid me 200 quid an hour, right? But how many of those people out there could do with that same kind of answer? How many people could do with, even if it's not the answer, how many people could do with being taken on the journey to figuring out the answer for themselves? Right? All of that is present in every single situation. Whenever a member of my staff says, hey, I was working with someone this morning and he's really hit a plateau, a sticking point, I say, oh, describe this plateau to me. And they start telling me about what's going on. Well, what's going on in the person's life? And they say, oh, they've recently had a bereavement. And that's right. I go, oh, right, okay. So we all know that a bereavement or a major stress pulls you off track. I'm interested in why. And I'm interested in how people feel. Like I taught a course this weekend, my integrated performance coaching course. And on that, I described 2 different scenarios where one person put on 4 stone after a bereavement and one person lost 3 stone, right? So bereavement doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. What was it? What was the circumstances that brought 2 very, very different and opposing outcomes? And those become interesting stories, right? And here's the thing. I just used the word stories. People don't connect with data, right? If I say to you, it's a well-known fact that during your lifetime, kind of, or during, you know, it's a well-known fact that 80% of people will suffer back pain at some point during their life. That's data. Yeah. And in your mind, you go, yeah, kind of heard that before. So what? Don't really care. Maybe I'll be one of the 20% who doesn't. Life goes on, right? And you just move on. If I actually start to tell you the story about what that 80% suffering back pain means, things change dramatically. If I say to you, and you know, kind of, it's not just the obvious that, ow, my back's so painful, but you know, what does that mean to things like not being able to have a kick around in the park with your kids, not being able to do these things? What does that mean to, you know, and you can tell the story about how back pain can lead to relationships breaking up. Yeah. You've got a fearful back that then means that you kind of, even things like intimacy and sex go out the window. As your sex life goes down, your connection with your partner goes down. Your partner starts to think, does he still love me? Right? All of these things, right? And then you end up with separation. There are stories within stories that, when I say stories, I don't mean making shit up. I mean looking out for the stories that have been presented to you across the course of your lifetime, not just as a coach, but as a human being. Like, what stories have you seen and what stories have you heard? See, because we, you know, prehistorically, right? History actually means from when we started to record data, right? We started to record stories. Yeah. Well, prehistorically, and still in tribal societies now, people sit down around campfires and tell each other stories every night and say, Okay, the stories will be everything from why you shouldn't go to that particular stretch of the river and why you should never fish in that on that bank, but why you should always go over there and what to watch out for and which snakes to watch. It's not just data. Hey, watch out for the green snake with a red stripe. Boom, right? They're told in the format of stories.
With a why.
What is that stories connect people because stories have an element of why, they have an element of interaction, and most importantly, they have an element of emotion.
Yeah.
Data have emotion, so that when you write a factual blog post that says kind of 80% of people will, there's no emotion connected to that. If there's no emotion, people go, whoop-de-doo, whatever, doesn't make any difference to me. I haven't connected with that material. So what I'm very, very good at, and not because I'm never usually actively trying. I'm not trying to manipulate people into feeling emotional. I just connect with my own emotion when I write to them, and I say, well, what would situation? What have I seen from other people that have been in a lot of pain?
Yeah.
Right. So and you create good material that connects with people at the heart level as opposed to just at the head level. Okay. And I think this is something that's very few people are doing, to be quite honest. You get a lot of data-based posts. Fit Pros kind of telling you kind of about why you must take more cod liver oil on, or why you must take more of this or whatever. And that, I would always encourage, I would say, share data than share nothing, right? Because I think there's a lot of people not sharing anything for the fear of, well, what if my data is wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
People doing that. So it's better to share data than nothing, but it's better to share stories and data.
Yeah, hugely, I agree.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, that's a lot of information for people to take in there, but that's kind of, if I reflect back, that's how I used to do things, a lot of data, but it's like a lot of left brain logical type of writing, and people don't enjoy that type of thing. They know, like, my theory is people know what they should and shouldn't be eating, right? It's not rocket science. They know there's bar a few grey areas where they've been manipulated through marketing. Generally, on the whole of things, like even my dad when I was younger used to say, if I need to trim up and lose a bit of weight, I'll eat chicken and green beans for a few weeks, right? So people know they eat meat and veg, right? And this is the journey that I went on, was when, like, I was banging my head against a brick wall saying, here's the plan, why are you not sticking to it? And then as soon as they'd run out of ideas on a 14-day meal plan, it was like, what happens when that's taken away from them? Like, how can they start to make their own choices? How can they start to make their own decisions? How can I tell stories that will relate to them? And I think the most powerful thing that I've ever started doing in my business is almost like a circle time afterwards. I sit everybody down and I tell like a 7 to 10 minute story, based on, like, I mean, I told a story about iguanas, right, in the Galapagos Islands, how they've actually adapted themselves to they've evolved over time to have shorter noses. They can hold the breath for an hour underwater. They can expel salt through the nose through a gland that they've evolved with. They've also learned how to reabsorb their bone density, so they get minerals so they can survive for longer through famine. And I was just telling about how this environment dictated that iguana's evolution, right? So you tell stories like that with your clients. So I'm saying, like, the environment that I'm putting you into now is almost like I'm forcing you to evolve, but through the connection with other people, the same as the iguanas had to evolve in the Galapagos Islands. And they kind of get that then, because you're relating it to life, and it's like, well, if a lizard has to evolve, then surely I have to evolve as well. But rarely do I think we see evolution is physical instead of mentally as well. But I believe that we evolve mentally all of the time in our capacities. But that's number one biggest change I've ever done in my fitness business, and that's how people connect now. And like, my inner circle Facebook group's like almost like a news feed on Facebook, and my members just go in there to log in and chat with each other. I rarely have to come up with content anymore. But as well, aside from that, that's just a little story that I record as well. Sometimes I put my flip cam on, record that while I'm telling, and that's also content. So content creation doesn't have to be some fancy article. It can be just context around a certain subject as well.
Absolutely. I think one of the major problems that we've succumbed to as a fitness profession is that we've become extremely myopic about outcomes, about the actual goal, right? Where people are getting. And it's not if it were all about the goal, then to be honest, we'd all already be there, right? If the goal held so much power and so much attraction, then why the hell aren't we there already?
Yeah.
So there's something about the goal and our journey to it that isn't adding up, right? So here's the biggest kind of obvious secret that kind of, and it really is obvious, but it's a secret because most people don't seem to kind of think about this, and particularly fitness professionals. It's outcomes are a result of behaviors, right? That's obvious, right? Outcomes are a result of behaviors. If you want to ever change an outcome, you have to change your behavior. We all know that.
Yeah.
Right. But another behaviors is an experience, right? Your behaviors are your experiences. And if your behaviors aren't ones that actually really feel like they're making a difference to you and your life, then you won't maintain them for long enough to get the outcome, right? So most trainers are saying, look at the goal, look at the goal, look at the goal, keep your eyes on the prize, keep going for it, keep going for it, keep going for it. Even if that means at the expense of creating a shitty experience to getting there.
Yeah.
Like your workouts are beasting workouts, and your clients have got DOMs 24/7, and they're kind of they're feeling so restricted with their nutrition. Well, if the behaviors are nasty behaviors, of course, the very first thing once your 30-day boot camp is up, or your 21-day kickstart, or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that's up, they go, thank God that's over. I can go back to doing what I was doing before.
No,
behavior, right? Then there's no such thing as self-sabotage. People talk about self-sabotage all the time. There's no such thing about self-sabotage. There are basically choices that people make that seem more pleasant to them than the other choice that they could make.
Yeah.
Right? So if you, exactly as you said, right, there's not a person on the planet that doesn't know that laying on the sofa eating Mars bars from dawn till dusk is a worse choice for them than having a couple of meals of good veggies and good meats and all the rest of it. There's not one person on the planet who really says, yeah, but I really believe I'm getting all my nutrition from this Mars bar.
Yeah.
But there's something about the experience of eating the Mars bar that is more preferential to them, or kind of more desirous for them, than the other opportunities that have been placed in front of them up to this point. So, in other words, all they see of they value the goal. Like, I would really love that body. I would really love to feel that way when I look in the mirror, right? But what they're fearful of and what they hate and what they resent is the experience of getting to the goal. So they say, well, do you know what? Eating a few Mars bars a day is a nicer experience than all that pain and hardship I'm going to put myself through.
Yeah.
And you will never pursue something that gives you a bad experience to get there. You just won't, right? So, you know, and again, it's telling stories that connect that with people. That's what I've been doing a lot recently. Is just my stories connect with people. Going, well, you're the first person to ever come out and say that. Like, why are other fit pros not saying that? Because one of the downsides of the current communication style of fit pros is that it sets up. You know, I said I'm not looking to become the leader of anyone, right? I'm not looking to create a hierarchy. Well, the way a lot of fit pros communicate, they create a hierarchical kind of structure. It's like, I'm so bloody good, I'm so high and mighty, I'm doing everything perfect. You peons out there who kind of aren't, you know, you're very lucky to have me as your leader, and I will get you to where you want to go. All hail me and follow me, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's connects people. People don't connect over those ideas. People connect over humanity. Yeah. Right. If I can look. I don't have agreement with you, but I can look in your eyes and understand your journey, and I can feel your pain about something. In my mind, I might be going, well, God, you didn't have to be in that pain. There are 1,000 other ways you could have got out of it. I can understand it, and I can appreciate it, and I can say, hey, you know, like, I don't know if you've seen any of my chunky to hunky stuff recently, right? But, you know, kind of where I did that 12 experiment where I just ate normally. I didn't deliberately go to put on weight, but I just ate normally.
Yeah.
Gained over 7 kilos, got really quite fat. I don't know if you've seen the first video.
I've seen the first one, yeah.
Well, you know, but by doing that, and it wasn't just a publicity stunt kind of thing, I actually wanted to take people through, there was a couple of things I wanted to teach, and one of them was that sometimes what you think of, oh, just one more won't hurt, sometimes it is hurting, because I wasn't deliberately pigging out to get fat, I just got fat.
Yeah.
Right? So I wanted to humanize the experience of it, but I also wanted them to, I mean, luckily, the people that are part of, I guess, my online tribe, my online community, they know that I don't position myself as something above them anyway, right? But I also wanted to show other people that maybe didn't know me that there's a human side to being a coach, and it's not all about so many people have put themselves on pedestals, not because they think they're so great, but they think they're supposed to be an example to other people of some element of perfection. Whereas the best example you could possibly be would be a human being with the same struggles and the same flaws and the same concerns and the same fears, who is in the process of overcoming them.
Yeah.
That in itself is a story. That's how you create connection. And again, there aren't many people doing that.
No, yeah, I agree totally. And it's also, it's like being vulnerable, isn't it? It's being open to criticism and being open to share, like you said, sharing the photos of you getting a bit more podgy than usual. Most trainers would try and hide that up and cover it up, and they wouldn't share the nights out or the extra meals or whatever they've been doing. They wouldn't share that experience, and it's almost like the hiding part of them, part of the struggles. But you know what, like, everybody that I've known who's shared some kind of their story or some kind of their experience recently of their own struggle is like a lot of people have connected with. Because I think sometimes when you think a little bit differently to other people, like, I mean, I'm not, like, I study a lot, you study a lot, Dax, other people study a lot. You can think differently, but that doesn't mean you are different. It just means you're a little bit further down the line. I think some people have to understand that at times and kind of draw things back. But like, it's almost, it's weird when I look back, and I'm sure you can do the same, as to when I first started communicating through social media, how different everything is that I do now. Like, I'm not afraid to share things other than training on nutrition. It used to always be training nutrition all of the time. Now it's a bit more like self-development stuff. And I actually put a thread up the other day about, I was watching what was it, On Death Row with Trevor McDonald, and there was a guy in there who had committed double homicide when he was 13, and he went to jail when he was 15, and he's still in there like 25 years later, but he's actually educated himself while he's been in prison. And it was quite an interesting topic as to how different people viewed it, and I could empathise with him for his current situation. Now, people didn't get that I could empathise with him, because he's like, how can you empathise with a murderer? But because he kind of shared his story and everything else, and where he was isn't where he is now, I could see his journey of progression. That's what I meant by the empathy, the emotional empathy, that I could empathise with him. But I mean, that caused a lot of like stir and a lot of chatting and a lot of controversy, whatever. But it was a nice, interesting topic, but it was nothing to do with fitness. But it was interesting that a lot of different people were interacting that people might not have interacted with me previously. So I think it's just like sharing who you are and what you enjoy, and like TV programs you watch or something, or you find something interesting, and creating content that way, but putting context on it. I think moving forward, context is going to be huge, because it's all about, obviously, perception as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I also think there's and this is something that very, very few people realize, people realize this, that human beings don't connect over stories of success, right? And yet, think about what most personal trainers are doing. They're talking about the amazing results their clients got, the amazing results so-and-so got, the amazing amount of money. My boot camp is filled and I've got this and I've got... Right, well, look, imagine this. Imagine you and I are meeting for the very first time ever.
Yeah.
Event. And you're like, oh, I'm finally meeting Dax. I've wanted to meet this guy for a while. He sounds really interesting. And when we meet, all I speak to you about is I go, oh yeah, I mean, my first book sold this, and I live in a massive mansion with a pool, and I've got servants, and I drive a Lamborghini, and I've got X million pounds in the bank, right? Your first thought is not going to be one of how great this guy is, right? Your first thought is going to be wanker.
Disconnect as well, huge disconnect.
Disconnect, right? And it does. Stories of success, when they're pitched too early, create disconnect with people. They don't create connection. Yeah. What creates connection between human beings are stories of struggles.
Yeah.
So then when you hear that basically I left home when I was 15 because I stabbed my dad, and I lived on a housing estate, and I had all these other things happen to me, and I did this and did this, and I survived the tsunaami. Right, stories of struggle. Now you go, well, this is an interesting guy. Now, if I was to tell you that out of all of that struggle, I've built a multi-million-pound business, and I live in the same mansion, and I drive the same car, and right now you go, bloody hell, good on you.
Yeah, it's triumph over adversity, isn't it?
Exactly, right? Triumph over adversity. People connect over stories of struggle. And if you think about what most personal trainers are trying to do with their messages, they're trying to come across the big I am, right? Kind of, I'm brilliant, Everything about my business is brilliant. We don't really struggle, or none of our clients really struggle. Everyone gets the results really easily. I do it differently. When I tell the stories of my clients, I can still talk about how quickly they get the results, but they really had to work for it.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, kind of these people have struggled for a really long time to get them, and something always held them back. And right. So it's the story of the struggle that makes the story of the success valuable. If you only tell the story of the success, all you come across as is a braggart.
Yeah, and there's
right?
no comparison.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and I think that's an area most people try to go out of their way, and certainly a lot of trainers, they go out of their way to hide their struggles. I know lots of personal trainers who are overweight who, instead of actually talking about the story of their struggle with weight, try and hide it. So they just try and talk about, oh yeah, kind of, it's great, my program is brilliant, so many people are losing weight. Instead of, a better story is, well, my battles with my weight have been bloody vicious. They've been really hard, and they've really knocked my self-esteem over the years. But I'm coming out, right? I'm kind of, things are moving up. There's also this doubt in people's minds about whether they have the right to share their message. And here's the thing: we all have the right to share our message because it's our message.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, you have the right. But people are like, well, you know, I'm still an overweight trainer at the moment, and I'm writing articles about how to lose weight. I feel like a fraud. Well, hold on. Are you a person who is seeing improvement because of the advice that you're giving? And it all slow. Like, are you lighter than you were a year ago, albeit that you might still be 4 stone overweight comparative to where you want to be?
Yeah.
As your journey moves you, because you only have to, on your journey, you only have to be 1 step ahead of the people that you're taking on that journey. You don't have to be the finished product with the 6-pack abs and the I can deadlift kind of 500 kilos and I can, right? You don't have to be that person. You can be, I'm 1 step ahead of you, right? But if you keep following the stuff that I'm putting out there, you're going to get to where I am now. And by the time you're where I am now, I'm going to be 1 step ahead again, and I'm going to tell you how to take the next step.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. But there are a lot of people not sharing that story either. There are a lot of people going, no, I have to be the finished product. I feel like a complete fake if I haven't got 6-pack abs, or I don't have a 6-figure business or whatever. If you've got some information about how to build your boot camp, like you know, this is, from what I understand, this is kind of how you started out.
Definitely.
You started to jump ahead. You still weren't a 6-figure income earner yet, but you now started to say, well, do you know what? I'll start to teach people some of the stuff that I've been doing.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to be the finished product. You don't have to say, well, do you know what? I'm not a millionaire yet, so who am I to give people business advice? Or I haven't got a 6-pack yet, so who am I to give people advice on how to kind of lose weight? That's a very dangerous fallacy that we've built up in our own minds, and one that will keep us exactly where we are.
Yeah, that you just touched on that, and I was just about to say, as you were talking about that, that's how I started. And because I remember, I don't know if you remember when I came down for the interview for your internship a long time ago, and at the time it just wasn't right financial, and I was like right on the fence of whether to do it or not, and moved to London and stuff, but finances didn't work out because I still had a lot of debts at the time. And I came back, started my boot camp, started mentoring with Paul, give him the last of me money, and hope that he'd turn it around, and he did. And I'd done it quite quickly, and I grew a camp, but it was kind of growing on quicksand at the time. I had a lot of members, and then it died, and then I built it back up again, and I've got a much stronger tribe now than I've ever had. But yeah, my reason for getting into teaching business wasn't to say that I was an expert, but it was to show people that it doesn't have to take 5, 10, 15 years to build a business. Within 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you can actually build something that you're actually proud of. And that's the reason I started getting into that kind of stuff, because I really enjoy self-development stuff and helping people think differently. But I think that position as well also it forces you to learn and forces you to think a lot differently also. Because if you always got to be 1 step ahead of everybody, you always think you have to gain perspective on a situation and say, okay, right, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to do, and you learn and you go, and it's almost motivation to study. But like you said, if I had waited to build a multiple 6-figure business and then go, yeah, I've got this multiple 6-figure business, whatever, now I can teach you, the gap between me and people who I might have been able to help would be so far that they think, well, how can he help me when I'm all the way back here? And I think sometimes the further apart you are, the more difficult it is for people to connect.
Yes, indeed. I agree with that completely. I think if you position, imagine taking business mentoring off Donald Trump or Bill Gates or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
what that would feel like. I mean, on the one hand, you might go, "Oh, it's brilliant because these guys have been so successful," but the intimidation level would be massive. And there's also well, I know that you've made it good, but you're in a completely different atmosphere to me now. In a completely different kind of area. I'm not really certain I can take the ideas that you've got and make them work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know what to talk about now, Dax. We've put the world to rights there.
So we fixed everything. No, I mean, I think it's just really down to. I always say that really it just comes down to your ABCs, right? Learning your ABCs.
Yeah.
Good communication. ABCs. A is for authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Self. Like don't put on airs and don't make up bullshit stuff about yourself that isn't true, and don't create a kind of a persona around you that really is just. It's fake, right? Don't create that. Be yourself. So be authentic. B means be brave.
Yeah.
In fact, authenticity requires bravery because it's scary to let all your skeletons out of the closet and tell everyone everything about yourself. And I'm not suggesting everyone has to reveal everything in one fell swoop, but start to be brave. Start to let some of the things that scare you appear on paper or on screen, right? Kind of start to put more of who you are out there.
Yeah.
And C is for committed. Like, be committed to the decision you make to being authentic and brave. Most people are worried, like, oh, if I put out too much stuff and kind of people won't like it and all the rest of it. So, but they end up putting out hardly anything. Here's a way I've always thought of this in terms of commitment. And it isn't about an absolute quantity kind of thing, but quantity does come into this. Let's say you do one blog post a month because you're a bit, you're intimidated and you're not really sure if it's good enough. That's 12 times a year you've started a conversation with people.
Yeah.
If you do one blog post a week, that's 52 conversations a year that you've started. And if you do 2 of them a week, that's over 100. And if you're like me and you're doing content almost every day that you exist, there's hundreds and hundreds of conversations starting around you and your ideas and your concept. And now, like anything, the more you do something, the less fearful you are of it, right?
Yeah.
So, your very first parachute jump is terrifying, but by the time you've done your 10,000th parachute jump, kind of there's no fear involved in that at all, right? Just like, it's just jumping yourself out of the plane. It's nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We fear what we don't. We fear what we don't understand. We fear what we don't know, and we fear what we don't do. So if you're just doing it regularly, then that will make a huge difference. ABC: authentic, brave, committed. Be committed to the decision that you're making about sharing your stuff. The other big no-no about content creation is this idea that you may be writing it for your peers.
Yeah.
Right? The only time you write for your peers is if you are writing for your peers. Like, if I'm writing stuff to influence people to come on the KCA course or something like that, then I'm writing for my peers, right? I'm saying, hey, here's some technical stuff. I want you to be really impressed by this so that you think about coming and paying me some money to come on my course.
Yeah.
That's me writing for my peers. If I'm writing stuff for the loss industry, for the fat loss market, the people that actually want to come in on one of my programs or buy one of my products or take on personal training, then what you or Paul Moore or anybody else thinks about that's none of my business. It doesn't matter. You might go, oh, I wouldn't have done it the way Dax did it. I'm like, yeah, well, great. It makes no difference. I haven't written it for you.
Exactly.
And I think that paralyzes so many fit pros that they're like, oh, well, shit. Dax, I'm friends with Dax on Facebook. If I put this out there, Dax is going to see my article. And what if he doesn't like it? What if he says, got that whole hormone thing back to front and you shouldn't have written that and the program isn't good enough? Or, what if Paul Mort sees it? Or what if Jay Ferrugia spots this and they say that what I put together is shit? Like, all of us, we've all got better things to do than go picking holes in your ideas of an article. Now, I'm not a hole picker anyway, but when I'm having professional conversations with people about, hey, let's talk about this hormone, then I might say, look, okay, yes, given that you've just asked me this, Chris, what you just wrote about thyroid, it was mostly right, but there's a couple of bits there that are actually a little bit off, and you might want to think about that before you write your next article, right? But that's when we're talking professionally. When you're saying, like, sometimes each of us, we put things into professional circles and say, hey, would you have a look at my article and say what you think?
Yeah.
But when content for your tribe, there's no way that I'm judging you. I might judge it from the perspective of go, oh, that's interesting, or I might judge it from, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, but I'm never going to attack you over it.
Yeah.
Got this in their minds that they're going to be attacked if they say the wrong things when they put it out there.
Yes.
But ways to deal with that. If you've got people on your wall seem to take a lot of pleasure in attacking you whenever you put something on them, there's this little thing called unfriend.
Yeah.
And then you get your peace of mind back, and but there's a lot of people instead letting their friends who aren't really friends, right? Because to me, a friend is someone. If you'll soon see how many friends you've got on Facebook. Go on there tonight and put up a post. Hey guys, I would really love everyone who considers themselves to be my friend to send £5 to my PayPal account, and see how many of the 5,000 kind of Facebook friends you've got really are friends. There won't be many.
Yeah, 20.
There won't be any.
I think I get 20 quid, Dax, I think.
Given so many of them, they're not really in your life. You're friendly with them, but they're not friends in that way.
Yeah.
You stop letting them decide what's going to come out of your mouth. All you can ever be is true to yourself and say, this is who I want to be. This is the man or the woman that I want to be as I go through life. This is the message that I feel most inspired to share with the world right now. And for fuck's sake, I'm going to share it. And instead of saying, well, okay, what if I share it and people don't like it? Because that's a great way to basically go through life on a leash where you let everybody else say to you what you are and aren't allowed to be in life. And that's a crap way to live.
Yeah, it's not living with freedom. This is, I don't know if you can see this, Dax. Can you see that?
I can't. It's very digitized. I don't know what it is, mate.
Basically, what it is it's an empathy map.
Right.
And I've got a bunch of these all over the office, like of all various different things that I write for. So for my blog, I've got one. For the fitness marketing stuff, I've got one. For all various different programs that I run within me business, I've got them. So that I know that when I'm writing an article, I can look at this and say, okay, this is this and this. Because sometimes, like yourself, we've got different hats on of who we're writing for.
Yeah.
And this basically is, I mean, if you Google empathy map, anyone that's listening, I'll put a link for a PDF under this. It's basically a little face in the center, and it says, what does she think and feel? What does she hear? What does she see? What does she say and do? And what pains and what gains? And when you have this, it's very easy to create content. I went through this exercise with, like, say, I think it was 10 of my core members who have been with me a long time. And I consider to know them very, very well through conversations that I've had with them. And I was actually shocked by some of the information I got back of them. And because they were really genuine and honest with us, and they put stuff down that they've never shared with anyone. But it opened my eyes to what actual people think like, and I was like really shocked about things that they thought was just a normal thing to think about. But I think that connection is huge, and really understand the voice.
It's a great. I have I don't call it an empathy map, but I have something very, very similar, exactly as you said, because you're dealing with lots and lots of different groups of people. You want to, if I've just literally been writing something on the kinetic chain for fitness professionals, and now I'm going across to write some content for I guess my more public following, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
It's useful to remind yourself in an instant. Okay, these are the people I'm writing to again.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's uppermost in my mind anyway. But every now and then, every now and then I'll sit there, kind of maybe with a bit of the old white screen and the blinking cursor, and go, what am I supposed to be writing? All you've got to do then is look at your, as you call it, the empathy map, and straight away you're back on. Right, okay, these are the people I'm writing for. It's not that difficult anymore. Yeah,
and I think that's, in terms of content creation, that's why people struggle to create content, because they don't know who they're creating content for. Like yourself, I can sit. I don't think there's ever been a time like this morning. I get up at 4 o'clock every Monday morning to write my newsletter, because I made that time commitment that I won't break it now. Like, get up every Monday morning. If I can get ahead of myself, then I will. But if not, I'm committed to doing it. It goes out by 5:30 latest. All of me subscribers expect it now. and I get amazing feedback from people that I've never even met before. But I know who I'm writing for, and never forget. Like 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm tired, whatever, I sit down and I just write however it comes out of me because I know who I'm writing for. And I think that's the problem that most people make. They sit down at the computer, they think, what shall I write? But they actually don't know why they're writing it or who they're writing it for. So
it's the same with goals, right? A lot of people they focus on what they're going to do. They don't focus on why they're going to do it. Like, you know, and in this case, it's like, okay, you know, you should kind of almost forget about what you want to write just yet. Who do I want to write to and why?
Yeah.
Right. And what is the kind of the emotional takeaway I want my reader to have by the end of this? Like, what do I want them to do, or what do I want them to think, or what do I want them to feel, or what action do I want them to take? Right? If you're not writing with that from that perspective, you're very unlikely to create connection with them. Essentially all you're doing is you're sending them data again.
Yeah.
And I've said this numerous times. People are already drowning in information, but they're thirsting for knowledge. They're looking for something that is going to change their life, not looking for more data to confuse them.
Yeah, I agree. So Dax, you've got a new blogging program, haven't you? Which I'm going to be checking out.
Yeah.
And what's it called again? Is it fitness?
It's fitness blogging made simple.
Yes.
Fitness blogging made simple, and it is the idea of making fitness blogging simple. But it isn't your average fit. You know, I don't tend to do your average kind of anything really when I put it out. I look at things from different perspectives. So look, a lot of the things we've been discussing here are what show up in the program.
Yeah.
What is it? It's a 30-day program. Essentially, it's a 30-day school for blogging. But it goes beyond. Like, we've got a couple of bonus modules. Those bonus modules sit outside of the 30 days. They're like, if you haven't got a blog, don't know how to set one up, and you don't know how to install a template, and you don't know how to kind of make it a WordPress based site versus something else. Those are the bonus modules that we throw in right at the start, right? So for complete blogging virgins, that's thrown in there. Yeah. If you've already got a blog and you've got a blog, but you're just not really getting much interaction, like, you know, that really crappy feeling that you all get where you sit there, you've poured your heart into an email and you've thrown you've poured your heart into a blog post, and you put it up and you get 2 likes, and one was your mum and one was your girlfriend. Yeah. Right? And it's like, you know, nobody else has commented on it, or if they have, it's just been good, thanks, very much, boom, and that was it. There was no interaction, and you sit there scratching your head thinking, well, geez, I just spent like 3 hours of my life putting that together for people, and what was the point? Yeah. Right. So not only is it making a difference, but it's also not doing what a lot of people want to do with their blog posts, which is to make money from it. It's not doing either, right? Because you won't make money until you make a difference. Right. So Fitness Simple is the journey of taking you through how to create interaction. What is it about a blog post that makes it magical? What is it that gets it comments? What is it that I mean, here's another thing. There's a lot of people expecting comments on their blogs, when actually sometimes, I don't know if you've noticed this in your blogging, Chris, that actually now most of the commentary actually occurs on Facebook. Yeah. They read your blog over here, but back on Facebook and they leave their comments here. But you might look on your blog and think, oh, there's no comments, so it's not working. But it's trying to understand the dynamics of where people might want to leave their comments, but how you can engineer it so that they're likely to leave comments on your blog. It's how to optimize your posts. And I don't just mean base search engine optimization, although there is that too. I put up a blog post the other day, and it was optimized for the words London personal trainer. Yeah. Within 24 hours, or less than 24 hours, it was on page 2 of Google for London personal trainer. There are 33.5 million search returns for that, so it can come up, right? There are pages within the top 10 pages that are being completely dominated just by my blog posts, not by my web pages. And so how does that happen? Well, it's largely to do with the social interaction. You can't just search engine optimize a page anymore and hope it will show up in Google. What you have to do is people visit it, comment it, talk about it, and all the rest of it. So a lot of it is about what we do to create that kind of environment. And it isn't just from a search engine optimization perspective. It's from you being a really great and connective person ultimately a connected person who creates a desire in people to say, oh, I want to say something about this because you me. So it's understanding who you're writing for, what will most move them, what kind of messages to create for them, and all the rest of it. And as part of that program, I'm also setting people up with a kind of a year-long program of a year-long calendar of content that they can create. So they never have to sit there and think, well, shit, what should I create now?
Yeah.
And even though I don't know exactly, I'll tell you kind of the framework of what you should create, not tell you that today should be a post about vitamins or something. That's not what I'm going to do. It'll be much more about the kind of post, a resonance kind of compass, if you will. If you create a post like this, that's how you create resonance with it. And there'll be a year-long map for that. And ultimately, it's here's another unique thing that we've done. We've actually turned it into a slow reveal, so you can't jump ahead. You must do today's missions. Tomorrow's mission won't open up for another 24 hours. Because again, I've seen so many people buy products like this, and even I did in the past. And you skim read each of the posts, and then you kind of think to yourself, yeah, well, I'm already doing that. There's nothing really that great about it. You must have had this in the past. You bought
so many products.
I think, I'm already doing that. I don't really need to study this material. What I wanted to create with this was actual engagement from the people that join the program. They actually engage it, like exactly like you would expect the client, right?
Yeah.
You imagine Mary starts your boot camp on day one. At the end of 30 days, she goes, well, it was all right, but it was a bit crap. It didn't really do what you said it would do. And you go, well, Mary, did you do your diet? No. Did you do the homework we set you? No. Did you attend every boot camp session? No. Okay, but you're saying that the boot camp was a bit shit, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. People often buy products and they say, well, I already know that. They're the four most dangerous words in the world. I already know that, right? You come into any program, you think I already know it. If you already knew that, then you'd be getting the same results as the other guy who already knows it, but is getting amazing results.
Yeah.
So you don't, right? So what this program is trying to do is to say, well, even if you think you know it, sit down with the module, do exactly what it says. 24 hours later, the next module will open up, do exactly what that says. Keep doing that for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, you're going to be starting to get the results that I and other people who already know that are actually getting, as opposed to you thinking you know it all, but you don't. So that, in a nutshell, it's a 30-day school that's designed to create massive interaction on the content that you create, rather than you thinking, well, shit, is this all worth it? Because I'm sitting here every night. I'm knackered when I get in from work, and Dax and Chris and Paul and everyone else is saying you should create content. And I sit down and I create it, and it doesn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. No phones ringing, no products being sold, no new attendees at my boot camps, nothing. Why should I bother doing this anymore? And I want to get rid of that for people. I want to show how easy it is, which is why it's called Fitness Blogging Made Simple.
Yeah.
It is simple. There's no...
Exactly. I think as well, I've studied Dax's stuff, and Dax has been a teacher of mine for a long time. So, everything that he puts out is really high quality. The fact is, for a small investment in a program, it's like it's going to save years and years and years of fumbling around. The way that Dax has probably found success, and a lot of the way that I've found how I write, is through writing a lot of stuff that doesn't get engagement, then finding out how to get engagement. But if somebody can show you the shortcut, that's always the best way. But have you got any final things to add about the program, Dax? It sounds fantastic.
You just kind of said it. Yeah, and you know me, I don't really like to kind of hype sell all my stuff, right? So, but I think you just hit the nail on the head. Look, it's taken me 14 years to get to the point where I've got massive engagement in nearly everything I put out nowadays, right? Yeah. I'm clearly doing something right. It's clearly working. And it's, right now, right at this minute in the UK, it's a 99 quid program. It's going to go up to 159 in a week's time, right? For 99 quid, essentially, you're getting a 14-year jump start on all of the stupid mistakes that I made and just jump into the really good stuff.
Yeah.
Most people will spend more than 99 quid in a month of coffees. Go without coffees for the next month and invest it in the program. And without hyping it, I'm certain by the end of a month you'll go, shit, I wish I'd have done this ages ago. I wish I'd have just knuckled down and did this work that this last 30 days has produced. because it will make a big difference. And I am leaving no stone unturned with it. I'm just jumping straight to all the magical stuff that works, really.
Yeah.
Nah, that's it. That's me on that. I don't want to hammer it.
I'm just gonna add one last thing, and I met a guy in Liverpool. He drove to Liverpool to meet me for an hour, paid for an hour of my time the other day, and he actually gave me the money and felt guilty for giving me that amount of money. And the reason why is because I give him so much information in that hour, and I actually spent probably 2.5 hours with him, if I'm honest, just chatting and stuff and telling him stories about how my journey. And he was like, the only regret I've got is that I wish I'd done it sooner. And I think people kind of are a little bit skeptical about spending money, and they think they can do it on their own. And I think everybody's found that in the past, but from somebody like Dax, is genuine, and he gets a lot of engagement, and I've studied a lot of Dax's stuff, and you can see he's a genuine good guy. I guarantee the program will change everything. So don't have those regrets in 30 days time or whatever. The biggest thing that, I mean, me and Paul have this conversation all the time, is people complain the business isn't working, yet they don't create any content to engage people or interact with people. So that's my final thoughts as well. Okay.
Well, I've the mad ramblings. Look, I mean, regardless of buying the product or not, right? If you ignore this last 3 minutes that we just spoke about fitness blogging made simple, and you just think of previous 57 minutes, there's been a lot of stuff there. We've been sharing a lot of stuff about, even if you never spend £99 with me or anybody else, every stuff we were talking about there was still valuable. If you just start to apply that to your business, you're gonna see and feel a big difference. But kind of as in everything, like, every diet works, every training program works, everything works if you do it, right? The biggest problem is people generally tend not to be doing the things that work. So my biggest thing as a result of this call is just, regardless of what you choose to do or not to do, just do something, like get something moving.
Yeah,
right?
Write something.
You've got ideas, right? Your ideas are no less valuable than anybody else's. Start bloody using them.
Exactly. And on that note, write a lot of stuff, even if it'll fine-tune your skills anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay, Dax, thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it. It was brilliant chatting. And
cheers, Chris.
I'll speak to you soon.
You will indeed. You take care, buddy.
You too. Bye-bye.